Folks, the circumstances surrounding Jeffrey Epstein's death just get more and more suspicious by the day. And in this video, I'm going to be talking to you in a little bit more detail about one of the prison guards who a lot of people have alleged maybe knew a little bit more about what was going on behind the scenes than they were letting on. Now, it has been dragged and posted and revealed in a lot of the Epstein files that this prison guard, they were not doing the checks that they were supposed to do. There's now these reports coming out that this prison guard Googled Epstein minutes before the body was found. There were mysterious deposits made into the bank account, and also now they're saying suspicious trips. So I'm going to break it all down to you in this video and let you decide how much you believe these theories that, maybe there was a little bit more going on behind the scenes and it's possible that prison guards were actually compromised. So in this first article, it says Epstein prison guard Googled him minutes before the body was found and made a mysterious deposit before the PDF's suicide. So it says one of Jeffrey Epstein's prison guards Googled the predator minutes before he was found dead and also made mysterious $5,000 cash deposits 10 days before the predator's jail cell self-deletion. New Department of Justice documents are revealing. Tova Noel was one of the 2 Metropolitan Correctional Center workers accused of falsifying records to say they checked on Epstein throughout the night before his August 10th, 2019 self-checking out. The guards were filed, but criminal charges against both were later dropped. That is definitely a very, very stressful case to be dealing with. It said Noel Googled latest on Epstein in jail at 5:52 a.m. and then again at 5:42 a.m. and then again at 5:52 a.m. Less than 40 minutes before her colleague, correctional officer Michael Thomas, found the disgraced financier dead in his cell. At 6:30 a.m., according to an FBI record of Noel's internet search history that night. Earlier in that shift, Noel, 37, shopped for furniture online and snoozed on the job instead of making the mandated checks on Epstein every 30 minutes, while Thomas perused motorcycles, prosecutors said. The FBI highlighted the eerie internet search in its 66-page forensic examination of the Bureau of Prisons' desktop computers of Noel and Thomas, and it was the only search highlighted. When questioned during her sworn statement to the DOJ in 2021, Noel denied Googling Epstein. I don't remember doing that, she claimed, according to a transcript. She said FBI records were not accurate. I don't recall looking him up. Okay. It said Noel, who has since been sued in Westchester County Supreme Court for alleged assault at her new job at a medical office assistant at Montefiore Einstein Advanced Care, also claimed to investigators that everyone at the Manhattan Federal Lockup failed to do rounds and falsified records about it. Very, very sus. I've never worked in the special housing unit and actually done rounds every 30 minutes, she told investigators. Meanwhile, Chase Bank flagged cash deposits from Noel's bank in a suspicious activity report to the FBI in November 2019, another file from the DOJ revealed. A total of 12 deposits begun in April 2018, the bank said, and culminated in the largest deposit for $5,000 on July the 30th, 2019. Interesting, right? Looking up Furniture Bronx, looking up latest on Epstein. I did look up other people, looked up Omar Amnat, basically looking up information on the guys that were in the jail. It said the files only contain Noel's bank records beginning December 2018. They show 7 cash deposits totaling $11,880. Noel started working at the special housing unit where Epstein had been held beginning on July the 7th, 2019, just weeks before his death. Just got that job just in time for Epstein to be arrested. Now, that is insanity. Noel, who drove a $62,000 2019 Land Rover Range Rover, wasn't asked about the cash during her DOJ interview, records showed. An internal FBI briefing also released in the DOJ files revealed the agency thought Noel was likely a mysterious orange shape spotted in blurry surveillance video near Epstein's cell around 10:40 p.m. that night. At approximately 10:40 p.m., a correctional officer believed to be Tova Noel carried linen or inmate clothing up to the L tier. Last time any correctional officer approached the only entrance to the shoe tier, the agency wrote. Epstein apparently hanged himself with strips of orange cloth. In the sworn statement, Noel, who was working a double shift that day, told investigators she last saw Epstein alive somewhere around after 10 and that she never gave out linen, ever, or clothing to inmates because she's done that shift before. Because that's done the shift before. The identity of the pixelated orange blob in the video has been a source of debate and conspiracy theory since the FBI released the footage last summer. Still no explanation for that. No explanation for that. The original 2023 Inspector General report said it was unidentified correctional officers making the recently released FBI document the first time a name was publicly put out on the mysterious shape. She testified she didn't know why Epstein had extra linen in his cell. No idea. No idea. Cameras off, extra linen in cell. It wasn't me that took it up there. Unidentified orange blob. Are you kidding me? The other guard on duty was sleeping between 10 p.m. and midnight. A prison employee entering the area of Epstein's cell alone would have been a policy violation, workers have said. Whoopsie. Lawyers for Noel declined to comment, asked during her sworn statement if she had any part in Epstein's death. She replied, no. No. Nope. Okay. So, as covered previously, another inmate would actually claim directly that Noel was involved in Epstein's murder. That's how they described it. Okay, this was a post that's been going around for a lot in Reddit and beyond. This was basically an account from Inmate 5. It said, Miss Noel killed Jeffrey. That's what Inmate said. I'm not saying that's absolutely true. They're saying officers kept saying, I didn't kill him. It said, I found an account for Inmate 5 from the night Epstein died where the inmates claimed Miss Noel killed Jeffrey. What other info is there about the timeline or suspected killer or method? Do we know who the officer Noel is? I transcribed the notes under the night Epstein died, starting at the bottom of the third page. Said he was fed dinner by Noel and another officer, never got trays taken out. She came by around 10 to do the count. Inmate 5 asked for lights off and did it. Around 12, everyone was kicking the door and yelling, calling her bitch, asking for lights to be turned off. New officer comes in. She told him not to do rounds. Other guys on tier said, that bitch is lazy. She doesn't want to work. Redacted said, you should have gotten your light turned off. She said it loud enough for everyone to hear. Inmate 5 didn't repeat what she said. Sometimes officers, redacted, say on Saturday, Sunday, they aren't doing anything for you on Saturday or Sunday. After new officer comes in at 12, she turns the fan on, or he did, and it blocked out the noise. Dozed off, woke up back and forth. Food cart was pushed in, and then heard, breathe, breathe. Another officer comes in. When they were walking through with breakfast, Lieutenant Blank served food, and dude said, you killed that dude. She said, if he's dead, we're going to cover it up, and if he's going to have an alibi... my officers. Whole H tier heard that Redacted initiated the convo, then found out on the news that Jeffrey Epstein died. Officers kept saying, I didn't kill him. When people came through regions, inmates said Miss Noel killed Jeffrey. Lieutenant Blank never rubbed Inmate 5 wrong. She does rounds, but she does not walk tiers, goes to 10S, but then leaves. Redacted, tall braces, he's a crip from blank area. When it comes to visits, he's the reason phone and drugs come in. A few lines about how the officers are bad officers and don't care what comes in. After Epstein died, they have a pad right by Inmate 5's door that they have to sign when they do rounds. Now they're doing rounds. Said the two officers on duty, Tova Noel and Michael Thomas, were being charged for falsifying records on the night of Jeffrey Epstein's death. They get let off the hook with community service and good behavior. Yeah, on paper, if anyone else came in, it's obvious we will never know via an official MDC paper trail. Update to add. I intended to add this in the main post, but can't. And Tova Noel is the officer that found him, I believe, but that's all I found. Okay, this is huge. Gives more credits to the occurrence of the LT coming and effing him up just weeks before his death. Now, one Redditor would actually discover that prior to Epstein's death, Noel allegedly traveled to China around the same time as his known associates. Now, this is very, very suspect. The Jeffrey Epstein death situation should be way bigger than we think. Could be way bigger than we think. Tova was in China at the exact same time as Jeffrey Epstein's associates. She's also from a small Caribbean island very close to Little St. James, and her father still lives there. Place of birth, Antigua and Barbuda. Very interesting. This is early personal history. Background of Tova Noel. Let's get into it. Tova Noel was born on blank in Antigua. She was raised by her single mother, Dr. Sylvia Ephraim, her grandparents, and her other extended family. Her mother left Antigua to come to the US to pursue her education. On July the 4th, 2002, when Tova was 13 years old, she migrated to the United States to be with her mother. So by the time Tova, by the time Tova came to the United States, her mother had gotten married and had a child from that union. Big redaction here. When Tova came to the United States, her family was living in the Pocono region of Pennsylvania. At the age of 14, she was required to take a placement test for the Pocono Mountain East School District, and based on her score, she was placed in the 10th grade. Tova excelled in school that year. The next year, her family moved to the Bronx, and she excelled academically in the 11th grade. The summer before her senior year in high school, her family decided to move back to Pennsylvania, and she continues to do well academically, but after her experience in New York City, she knew that she would one day return. Tova graduated from high school at the age of 16 in 2005. It says her father, Jerry Noel, lives in Antigua. However, Tova's contact with him is very limited. She also has several half-siblings on her father's side. So there's more details about the charges that she got hit with the offense. It says the government charged Noel in a 6-count indictment alleging that her and her co-defendant conspired to falsely certify they perform their duties and responsibilities as it relates to conducting the count of inmates and make rounds to check on inmates. In addition to the conspiracy, Tova was charged with substantive counts pursuant that cover conduct from August 9th to August 10th, so that's after the body was found. The allegations in the case involve non-violent felonies with a maximum sentence of 5 years, no mandatory imprisonment required. It says Tova did not know who Jeffrey Epstein was prior to his incarceration at the MCC and became aware of his public status after his July 23rd, 2019 incident in the special housing unit. Her interaction with Epstein's were limited because he spent most of his days in the attorney conference room, not in the SHU. Her interactions with Epstein usually took place after 8 p.m. Although she was assigned to the SHU, she never received any particular or special instructions on how to monitor Epstein. Tova was not responsible for determining which inmates were housed in the SHU or whether they would have a cellmate. Tova did not receive any specific guidance on how to handle a high-profile inmate like Epstein. On August 9th, 2019, Tova was scheduled to work the 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. shift. She did not work this shift with co-defendant Thomas. One of the corrections officers she worked with during the 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. shift was working the last of his 3 consecutive shifts during the 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. shift when Tova was advised that she is blank. This is just more information. I guess these pages aren't in order. She had military service. She worked other jobs like at Macy's, an ambulance service. She worked as a case manager for the Bronx TSC, a toll booth cashier for Home Depot. After graduating from John Jay in May 2017, she began working as a mail handler at the USPS. She joined the Bureau of Prisons, started working at MCC June 24th, 2018, and she got 2 weeks of training, attended another training course in August that was supposed to be 3 weeks, cut short due to a hurricane. Basically, her and her MCC colleagues were forced or mandated to work many overtime shifts, including 2 8-hour shifts back-to-back. Due to difficulties finding parking near the MCC, she often drove to work at 5 a.m. and slept in her car before the beginning of her 8 a.m. shift. She was required to work so many overtime shifts in a 6-month period, she earned the entirety of her annual base salary. According to the request during her employment at MCC, Noelle received multiple threats from inmates, including threats of violence and SA. When she reported the threats, she did not always feel supported by her superiors. I set forth in the request. Or about March 15th, 2019, she had an accident and fell at work. She was injured and didn't return until June the 26th, 2019. When she returned to the MCC, she was assigned to the 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. shift in the SHU. According to the request, Noelle had never worked in the SHU before and did not receive the required SHU-specific training. When she was reported for work at the SHU, her lieutenant asked her to sign documentation. And I guess this is some documentation, this is some timesheets, encounter history list. And then I don't know what this is. This is a back and forth. If you prefer to flinch first, I understand, but you will have gained no information. Not sure where I've had enough of this. Not sure where the I've had enough of this has gone. This is a message that says Larry Summers. It says, just don't want to give gratuitous offense. Seems rude not to answer. Your instincts being good, though. This offense is not gratuitous. It's a fair response for the lack of enthusiasm for discussing anything but what she is focused on for the moment. You seem to be the one with anxiety. It says, I sent her a China-related thing. She answered, I wrote back accurately that I had tripped here in Antigua and needed to be taken back to my room on a stretcher as was in pain. She wrote back, sorry to hear that. Please take care. Need more exercise and diet, it appears. Is this hostility, difficulty in handling my being old, general Chinese coldness, or what? And then this is more back and forth. Radio silence, no surprise. Monday crucial. You confident you know what you're doing? They said no. Okay, feeling guilty about having ignored her. Nice enough question. Understood. Radio silence. You think mistake to send without comment notes on a China discussion. It's not entirely clear what's going on here, but maybe this will give context. It says, take the time to look at the docs I linked, as I couldn't screenshot everything and the rest of the documents below. She was born in Antigua and Barbuda, an island 1-hour flight from Little St. James. Numerous pages of documents mentioning Antigua in the files. The country is small with a 90k population, and it's likely almost all residents were highly aware of the billionaire and his associates. Tova moved to the US when she was 13, returned to Antigua to live in 2005-06, moved back to the USA in 07. She visited Antigua 06, 07, 08, and 09. There needs to be more research on flight numbers. For reference, Epstein purchased Little St. James in 1998, and there would have been a lot of talk about the happenings there when he was arrested in 2006. Tova's dad still lives in Antigua, though she claims to have minimal contact to him. Sadly, her mother and 7-year-old half-brother were murdered in 2013. Tova started working at MCC in June 2018. On or about March 15th, 2019, she had an accident, fell on the job, was injured because of the fall, took leave, and didn't return to work until June the 26th. During time recovering, she traveled to Beijing between 18th of April and 29th of April. I assume being employed at the MCC and a veteran, she would have had no reason to seek overseas medical treatment. Her last personal trip outside the USA had been in 2009. 10 years prior, however, it can be assumed based on the documents that during her time in the military, she had overseas postings. Now, this is where it gets interesting. 24th of April, an associate messages Epstein, regards from Beijing, and mentions that the Sultan is there tomorrow night. I probably will not be there. On the 24th of April, Epstein exchanged messages with Larry Summers. And then these are the messages that you've already seen, talking about logistics, about hiding ownership, tax havens, things like that. Radio silence. They go back and forth, basically. Talks about China discussion. I prefer you flinch first. I've had enough of where this has gone. Don't want to give... We kind of saw all of this. Larry Hummer said, I sent her a China-related thing. Larry Hummer said, she answered. I wrote back accurately that I had tripped there in Antigua. I needed to be taken back to my room on a stretcher and was in pain. She wrote back, sorry to hear that. Please take care. Need more exercise and diet, it appears. Is this hostility and handling being old, Chinese coldness, or what? Fast forward to July 30th. Tova deposits $5K into her bank account, which is highly unusual. I haven't been able to find any expenses related to her trip to China. 9th of August, the phone call. Male guard dialed the number and left Tova to supervise the call. However, she walked away, pending document link. The call was 7 p.m. and lasted 20 minutes, but Epstein didn't return to his cell until 7:49. Rounds are not conducted despite this sign being up in the shoe. Is this a sign saying to do rounds? Oops, Daisy. Oh, no. Oh, no. Hang on. What is this? Is this a sign? This is an autopsy. Okay, this is apparently the sign, and it's in these records, basically. It says, mandatory rounds must be conducted every 30 minutes on. Epstein. Mandatory rounds. There was a sign apparently on the door. You had to... They're saying mandatory. I don't know if that was written, underlined, and then question marked for a joke. Mandatory? Mandatory? I don't know. That's pretty crazy. And then it says, Tova Google's latest on Epstein in jail. If the above is correct, it means Epstein knew he would be arrested, maybe even that he would be arrested upon landing. Multiple levels of people involved to ensure he ended up at the MCC with Tova. Please help me research this further. I'm convinced there's more evidence out there. I'm sure Tova was paid more than $5K. I just need to find the evidence. Did someone buy an expensive property in Antigua for her family? So yeah, we kind of heard a lot of this already. So she was assigned to work on the shoe after her injury. It was the first time she worked the shoe with her co-defendant. This was when she returned from Beijing. Also, conveniently, her first time doing the 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift was on the day of Epstein's death. Yikes. Okay. Apparently, she received significant cash payments before Epstein's death. She was super broke. Then suddenly, she received several $1,000s per month and leases a brand new SUV. Once Epstein died, she paid off 2 other prison guards, allegedly. Then she flew to Fort Worth. It's in the files. Okay, that's crazy. Big if true, true if big. Nice write-up. She got a job at Montefiore Hospital after they settled her case. She was arrested for assaulting a co-worker there. This is like full-on proof of a cover-up. That's what some people are saying. Saying the detective work on this sub is groundbreaking. Take a bow. This is going to take a while to comprehend. All additional info consolidated in a single document. It is crazy. It is crazy. Okay, so look, we're going to move on, okay? So one person of note in these alleged messages is, of course, the former Secretary of the Treasury, Larry Summers, who, you know, apparently in conversation there. Ex-Treasury Secretary Larry Summers quits Harvard role over the Epstein probe. So that's him. His connections to Epstein have been a big kerfuffle for him. It's been a big problem, and it's not going away, unfortunately. Now, we'll jump forward to 2020. In another set of released emails, Epstein's brother Mark was apparently contacted by someone claiming to have information on the death in the year following Epstein's self-deletion. Okay, this is a little back and forth that went down. It says, Mr. Epstein, my name is John. I was aware of your brother's assassination. I will give you a message from the email below. Contact me if you would like to know how your brother was killed. Please do not reply to this email. It may be controlled by FBI information. Don't talk to anyone about it. I repeat, no one, not even your lawyer or even your best friend. This email was just sent to gain your trust. Contact me via the email below. Said, hello, I'm John. I know how your brother was killed. He has been assassinated by some quite professionally. People at the presidential palace were involved at the murder. If you want, I can send you the documents. Please do not talk to anyone about this. And then he's forwarded this on to someone and said, this is how it started last week, as I received them last night. That is actually scary as hell. Okay, and there's another document here that I can show you as well. This is more emails. It says, Mark, you build a Gmail so I can gain your trust. I sent you an email from the police. Check your 2 emails. Also check the spam box. See the sender's address. Please create a Gmail to send you via police email. These emails are not secure and may be monitored. Many of these emails are not able to receive emails from the police due to low security. I never threatened your family. Many celebrities have either participated in your brother's business or received sexual services from him. You were only his brother. No one will believe that you are unaware of this information and your brother's secret property, and the police report confirms your connection with Jeffrey Epstein. You are a sinner. You have only 36 hours to buy information from us. They will first try to imprison you. This information will give you help to prevent prosecutors and judges from doing so. They may want... Oopsie. Is this they're calling me to say stop with the Epstein files, it's over with. Please stop. Okay, please stop. It said they may want to hurt you and your family. Give this information to a few trusted people and tell the person who ordered your brother's murder that if something bad happens to me, this information will be revealed by the people I trust. All the information about your brother's murder is on the internet. However, with the coordination of the director of prison regulations, the cameras were tampered with, and some of the videos of the prison cameras were cut. At that time, prison guards Tova Noel and Michael Thomas were paid $6,500 so they would not visit prisoners at this time. Within 15 minutes, a man named Michael Rose entered your brother's prison cell and strangled him. I have answered all your questions. You will know very well that you are in great danger. We are police and do not intend to interact with the killers. I desperately need money. Mark, if I sell this information to your brother's killers, they will definitely kill you. Don't force me to interact with your brother's killers. That's disturbing as hell. And so he's forwarding that on to, I believe, a law firm, some law offices. But that's chilling, okay? Now, another apparently recorded call featured what appeared to be an inmate actually alleging that Noel had tried to have him killed. And so this has been going around for some time. Okay, let me see if I can play you this clip. One sec. All right, I thought I'd lost this file for a minute, but I've tracked it down now, okay? And this is basically a recording of a call, an inmate call, where basically they would allege that this same officer had actually tried to take him out too. Listen to this.
I never got to finish telling Tay what I thought I told Tay, but basically the lady that was indicted on the guard that was indicted with the Jeffrey Epstein death, the billionaire, the guy that died, she set me up last year when I first got locked up, because me and him, even though the details of our cases are way different, me and him have the same charge. So of course she didn't. I guess she must have thought some wild shit about me. I'm not sure what she thought, but she must have thought something off the wall, and she went and she told some She? What's talk? You remember?
No,
So she went and she told a group of Bloods, and they tried to cut me in my throat while I was sleeping, and I jumped out the bed.
What?
And I had to fight. Yeah, and I had to fight him out of my cell. Like I literally had to fight for my life on that. So.
What the fuck? You know them? Yeah, I heard you. You know, I'm into criminality and all that. I heard you. I heard, like, I'm saying I'm into like criminality and all that shit. And like,
So
I'm trying to work on it.
Listen to what I'm. Look. Listen. What I'm saying is this. That shows a pattern. So she might have a thing against. Listen, I've been complaining on that bitch since last year. So and then Epstein died, and she got indicted. So maybe now that a billionaire died at her hands, maybe people.
Do you have all the copies of the grievances?
Do I have all the what?
Did you make like paper? Do you have the paper trail?
But right before it happened, I had phone records. Right before it happened, I called my mother and told my mother that she threatened me. And then I told my mother that. Yeah, I have the phone records. I called my mother and told her that she threatened me, and that I felt something was wrong because it was a government shutdown, and she had a super attitude. Then that same day, that shit happened, and then they put me in SHU under investigation. They put me in SHU under investigation because I had injuries, and then I called my mother from SHU and I told her what happened, and then I found out in SHU because one of the guys that was involved, I guess I left bruises on him, so they sent him to SHU too under investigation because he had bruises on him, and then that's when I found out what was going on. And the bitch even pressed me while I was in SHU trying to see if I told anybody anything. So so there's a whole that prison that I was at, MCC, is under investigation because they got a lot of shady staff there and shit. So there's a lot wrong with that place. So if you talk to a lawyer.
He's saying there's a lot of shady stuff going on in that prison. That same officer tried to line him up to get killed. He's basically laying it out and saying that's what happened. Now, that is insane. Now, there would be another interesting sort of tidbit, okay, that would connect, where basically in the Epstein files, they would include a statement regarding abuse in Haiti in an unrelated case from somebody that actually shared Tova Noel's last name. And some people are suggesting that might have been some kind of connection, okay? So there's a bunch of stuff here, all right? I'm going to kind of try and avoid saying anything too crazy, too messed up. But essentially, I believe it's on page 7 that there is some interesting information on here. It says, my name is Loudens Noel. Familiar last name. I'm 29 years old. I was born in Jacmel. I came to Michael on December the 23rd, 2000. Cardinal Shibilangos introduced me. When I joined St. Joseph, I felt it was paradise, but it was not so. Both mum and dad passed away, and Cardinal Shelby used to help me. He was ordained Archbishop and was transferred to Fort Liberty. The reason why he took me to hell over Michael is the worst experience I ever made in my whole life. A regretful memory. Michael make believe like he liked giving me candy all the time. It was a cunning way to become my friend so he could abuse me. I'm not going to go into the full description of the abuse because that's very messed up. But basically it says he feeds the kids with good food, which is not true. He stops you, sends you to sell patties in the street while he says all the kids graduate, gives a party to them to cover his lies. God said in his word, let the children come into my kingdom, for my kingdom is those who look like it. To me, I don't remember when I was a child because I was never happy in my child. My goodness, Michael is the devil in person. He clothes himself with sheepskin while he has a devil inside of him raging. Finally, I'm asking justice to take our case into consideration. We as the kids who've been victimized by Michael today with another group, let us stand up. Refrain from the Haitian kids being abused. It's a shame for Haiti that a foreigner is coming to triumph over doing bad things to boys. Wow. Okay, now the specific individual mentioned in this statement was actually arrested and later convicted, and it would be another pretty grisly abuse case that would end up catching a lot of attention. It says, man sentenced to 210 years after abusing vulnerable children he found at the orphanage in Haiti. Okay, and yeah, it's just interesting of sort of all these things are going on. Why would that statement about this abuse in Haiti be included in the Epstein files? That was a statement I just showed you from the Epstein files.
Colorado man will be spending the rest of his life in prison after being sentenced to 210 years for sexually abusing multiple children at the orphanage he founded in Haiti. And that's according to the U.S. Department of Justice. According to the court documents, 73-year-old Michael Geilenfield of Littleton founded St. Joseph's Home for Boys in 1985. He operated it for more than 2 decades. The Justice Department says during his time, he repeatedly traveled from the U.S. to Haiti, where he was a sexual...
Yeah, you get the idea. You get the gist. You get the idea. I don't want to get in any more trouble with this, but look, I think there's so many dark and weird connections that come around Jeffrey Epstein's case. It really does feel like you've seen it all at a certain point. And one of the most chilling things about covering this for me has been, you know, I knew about Epstein. It was been a real mind blower to just think like, okay, all this stuff about people trafficking kids all over the world, this is a real thing. This isn't, you know, this isn't made up nightmare fuel. This isn't a horror film that somebody's come up with. These are real things that are happening. And unfortunately, this has led me to discover even more really horrible things that have gone on around the world. We talked about the John of God case, the Zorro Ranch, this situation, Jean-Luc Brunel. There is some disgusting and depraved individuals all around the world, and I just can't believe what I'm seeing at a certain point. Now, when it comes to the prison guard, there's definitely some very suspicious things, a lot of questions that have never been answered, and I do still have a lot of suspicions about what this is all about and what's been going on behind the scenes. Now, do you guys believe that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered perhaps by a prison guard? This is the person that people seem to be pointing fingers at a lot, but there's also not anything definitive to truly say that this is what went down. This person is responsible, but there are such suspicious unanswered questions. So too many coincidences. It's very, very hard to believe the official version of the story. But let me know what you guys think. I'll be back with another video for you guys probably tomorrow. I'm going to go and work on some main channel stuff now. But thank you so much for supporting, watching, and using me as your trusted news source. I'm very grateful. Until next time, folks, thank you for watching, and I'm out of here, gang. Peace.